When EUSTASS Kid was first introduced in the story, he was introduced as this badass rookie in the same generation as Luffy and had a higher bounty. And since then, he's done absolutely nothing. So in this video, we're going to be breaking down the much neglected Kid and his character, what he could potentially not only in Wano, but beyond Wano as well. And let's start with Kid's character and how he's depicted, because it's not like we're anticipating something from a nobody here. Kid has been depicted as a rival of Luffy, somebody who's really strong and ambitious, and overall, he's just a very interesting character. Like the rest of the supernovas, he was introduced back in Sabaody when we found out about all these other rookies that are just like Zoro and Luffy. And to me, Kid was really the first one to draw my attention, because although other rookies were really strong and they had really unique designs and all, their bounties didn't quite stack up to Luffy. But then in came EUSTASS Kid, somebody who had an even higher bounty than Luffy, who we've been following. He's been our MC for the past 400 something chapters, and we saw him accomplish all these impossible tasks of defeating the Shichibukai, rescuing Robin and Enies Lobby, declaring war on the world government. But even after all that, apparently there was this other kid that was even more notorious than him. So right off the bat, Kid kind of seemed like the direct rival to Luffy because of their bounties. And then later we find out like, oh, this guy is actually like a brutal, ruthless pirate that went and killed so many civilians, and that's why he had a higher bounty. I feel like it would be really interesting if we made Oda describe exactly what Kid's journey was like, because Luffy did a lot to get his bounty. So for Kid's bounty to be even higher, I know he killed civilians and stuff, but he must have had to like massacre towns and stuff. But yeah, Kid right away, just off of his bounty alone, was set up to be a rival of Luffy. And then later at the auction house was really when we got established it's Kid, Law, and Luffy are really like the top dogs of the supernovas, and those three were really going to be the main rivals of the supernovas. And that stayed consistent throughout the story. After the New World, we had Luffy and Law team up, seemingly equal, before kind of Dressrosa, where Luffy separated himself a little bit. And of course in Wano, we've gotten plenty of moments of Kid and Luffy being compared, and then of course the same dynamic of Law, Kid, and Luffy. Another thing to really note about the rivalry between these three, one thing that Kid really put on display in Sabaody was his ambition. His ambition to chase his dreams and find the One Piece and become the Pirate King. It's very similar to Luffy and Blackbeard and what we really first saw in Jaya. Back in Jaya, when Luffy was talking about going to Sky Island and becoming the Pirate King and finding the One Piece, and Bellamy kind of laughed at him and they beat him up and all that. But there was when we had that big moment with Blackbeard where we kind of figure out that these two are similar in a way, where even though Blackbeard is evil and Luffy is a good MC, they both believe in chasing those dreams of finding the One Piece and becoming the Pirate King. So in Sabaody, when Luffy says he's gonna find the One Piece, Kid actually respects that, because for the first time he's meeting somebody who has the same ambitions as him, and he almost tells the same exact story of his journey making it up to Sabaody, where he was talking about his dreams and people will laugh at him as well, but instead of just taking it, he would actually beat them up and probably kill them, to be honest. But yeah, right off the bat, from his introduction, Kid was incredibly interesting, dope design, dope devil fruit, really strong, high ambition, a rival to Luffy, so it really shouldn't be surprising that we're expecting big things from him. And I feel like expectations for Kid rose a lot more once we got into the New World and how much stuff we got with Law. Like, we got a lot of focus on Law. Like, think about it, once the Straw Hats got into the New World, Law essentially becomes part of the crew almost. I would even argue with how much the crew was split up, Law was maybe even featured as much as some of the other Straw Hats. And of course in Dressrosa, he showcased a lot of his strength, and also we got a full dive into his backstory. So a lot of us figured like, okay, Law finally got this focus, then the other person that's gonna get this focus has gotta be Kid. And now we're in Wano where Kid is present and has a tie to the overall storyline. We're obviously gonna be expecting him to get some shine, and so far hasn't happened. He's been missing for the past couple of chapters, so it does feel like he's been neglected a little bit, but I'm still holding on hope that he's gonna accomplish some things in Wano and beyond in the story. In Wano specifically, there's 2 or 3 things that I think has to happen for Kid's character. One thing I think we really need to see is a proper team up of Law, Kid, and Luffy. This is something that's been kind of teased throughout the story. Back in Sabaody, we saw the 3 of them fight all these Marines. As we're going on this raid on Onigashima, the 3 of them were the first ones to pop up saying pirates need to fight pirates. But this whole time it's been this like rivalry back and forth. They're not really agreeing to fight with each other. They're not really utilizing each other's powers to their advantage. I want to see them really agree to fight together together. Probably it will come against Kaido, but those three actually putting their pride aside and agreeing to fight with each other and utilizing each other's powers to its full potential, I think just those scenes, those fight scenes would be so amazing. Like what we saw out of Law and Luffy back in Dressrosa, it wasn't even that much, but it was still very epic. That room shambles switch of Luffy doing the Red Hawk looking like he was about to punch Law, and then they get switched and Luffy just pummels Doflamingo. That was such a unique badass attack that I did not see coming at all. So now if you're incorporating all three of them with Luffy powered up with Gear 4th, Oda could get so creative with these attacks and would just be a really badass fight scene in general. Plus, there's so much more we haven't seen out of Kid's powers either. We've literally seen him use two actual attacks, Punk Rotten and Punk Gibson. Obviously, Kid doesn't like to work with people, so it'll be kind of hard for him to accept working with Luffy and Law, who are already allies. They'll have no problem working with each other. But I think there will be a moment where the three of them realize, oh, Kaido is incredibly strong. We have to kind of work together to try to take him down. The other thing that kind of ties into this is I think Kid has to fight Kaido. It doesn't have to be his main fight, but he definitely has to fight Kaido in some sort of capacity. If you think about it, he almost has more motivation in this fight than Luffy. Sure, Luffy got defeated by Kaido and he has a lot of friends that he's looking out for, that he wants to defeat Kaido for, but Kid's whole crew got decimated by Kaido. He got betrayed in his alliance. His right-hand killer is now laughing like a maniac because of Kaido. He has a lot of legs in this fight, so I definitely think he has to try to get his revenge on Kaido. Now, with this fight, how much he actually accomplishes, that's a little bit up in the air, but I do think it's a good opportunity for him to showcase some of his strength. Like I mentioned, we really haven't seen much out of his powers yet. I think there's a lot more to his Devil Fruit that we just simply don't know. Like seeing Law fight back in Dressrosa, we learned a lot more about his Devil Fruit overall. I'm definitely expecting Kid to have something up his sleeve that's as strong as Radio Knife or something like Gear 4th for Luffy. He's got to have more to it than just collecting a bunch of scraps and creating big metal arms and punching people. In my opinion, especially after what the Scabbards showcase in this fight against Kaido, I feel like Kid has to be able to damage Kaido at least once. As far as how he does it, would it mean he has advanced armament haki? Originally, I kind of lean towards no, because it's a very advanced power, and I feel like that's part of what makes Luffy special, of how young he is and how quickly he's able to learn these things. But on second thought, I think it would be perfectly fine if Kid has advanced armament haki, and it would kind of make sense. In terms of just physical strength, he's already shown to be similar to Luffy of what they showcased in Udon, and plus during the 2-year time skip, Kid didn't just go off and train for 2 years. He kind of went under like a baptism of fire. He went to Big Mom's territory, stole something, and injured one of the Sweet Commanders, which that by itself just shows how strong he is in terms of attack power. We saw how much Luffy struggled even against Cracker back in Whole Cake Island, where Gear 4th wasn't really able to do much. So Kid being able to injure one of the Sweet Commanders already shows he has very high attack power. He also went up against Shanks and the Red Hair Pirates at some point and ended up losing an arm, and we'll get into that a little later when we talk about Kid's role in the future. But if you think about it, Kid has gone up against 3 Yonkos as well. And when we're talking about haki and how you can really bloom your haki, you need those near-death experiences, those really intense battles, and Kid has definitely experienced more of them during the New World than Luffy did training for 2 years. So honestly, I wouldn't be mad at Kid gaining advanced armament haki. It could kind of make sense. Plus, it's not like he has future vision as well, so Luffy is still kind of separated in his own category. But yeah, I do think Kid should be able to injure Kaido, and maybe that will be his big shining moment in Wano, which I definitely think he needs one as well. Like I mentioned, we have not seen a lot out of Kid, and it's been a lot of portrayal and a lot of talk about what he's accomplished and how strong he is, but we really haven't seen him in a serious fight where he's able to showcase that off. And with him participating in a very intense war right now against 2 Yonko, he has to showcase what he's capable of. Like I mentioned, maybe it comes against Kaido of him being able to injure him, maybe multiple times. Some people have brought up the idea that Oda gives him a fight against a commander, which I don't really see. I don't think Kid is gonna get that much attention. I would be down with a Kid versus King, Queen, or Jack fight. Either way, he needs to showcase what his powers are all about and get some like serious shine of showing, hey, Kid is not just all talk, it's not just all portrayal, he's actually really strong, and here's why. Now the last thing I want to address here in terms of Kid's accomplishments in Wano is that Kid is actually another candidate that some people believe might actually kill Kaido. And the rationale behind this is actually almost kind of similar to Zoro, where most people believe Luffy will still be the one that does most of the damage to Kaido because he is the MC and he's been training for this fight. But at the end of the day, Kaido has to die, and well, Luffy doesn't kill, and Zoro does kill, but another person that is much more well known for killing people, even civilians, is EUSTASS Kid, and he has a big gripe with Kaido. So that's kind of the rationale behind Kid killing Kaido. Definitely don't use abbreviations for that one. ZKK works. This one, don't use that abbreviation. But yeah, that's the Kid killing Kaido theory. For me personally, I don't really see it. I think Kid will definitely get some shine and deserves to get a lot of shine, especially in a fight against Kaido. But as going as far as killing Kaido, there's not really been much foreshadowing like it has been for Zoro killing Kaido. And I just don't think such a big moment is gonna be given to Kid. He's been neglected so much. I just don't think Oda is gonna pull the trigger on that. I also believe, as sad as it is, Kid is kind of a foil character to Luffy. And foil, if you don't know, is like kind of a literary definition of somebody who's completely contrasting another character. Fiji did a great video breaking this down, so be sure to check that out. But essentially the idea is Kid's experience and journey has been the opposite of Luffy, where instead of training for 2 years, he had to go out and actually just experience all the hardships of the new world, lost an arm against the Yonko, and then lost against Kaido. He doesn't trust anybody, but finally sets up an alliance and then ends up getting betrayed as a result. Meanwhile, you have Luffy, who's just great at drawing allies and making friends, and his alliance with Law succeeds and takes down Doflamingo, gains even more people with this Samurai alliance, and now he's going up against Kaido with all these people backing him. So all of Kid's failures and shortcomings and all these L's that he's taken is almost completely contrasting Luffy, and I really believe that's like the role of Kid in the story. So for that reason, I just don't see Kid killing Kaido. But Kid's story is definitely not over by the end of Wano. I think there's so much more to explore with his character, and there's a lot of other storylines that are still tied to him. Because that's the other thing with Kid, he's a super interesting character. His relationship with Killer and how they grew up and their backstory, I want to know more about that. That kind of got expanded a little bit in Wano as we're finding out about how Killer ate his small devil fruit, and Kid's talking about when we were kids, you really hated your laugh. But yeah, these two grew up together, were friends in childhood in the South Blue, and then formed this pirate crew, and then just tore through the Grand Line as these crazy rookies. So what happened to them? What was their childhood like? What really gave Kid the ambition to go and try to find the One Piece and become the Pirate King? What was Kid and Killer's relationship when they were younger? These are all things that are very, very intriguing. Also, the fact that they're both supernovas, like they're the only other pair within the supernovas that are on the same crew, it just makes it a lot more interesting. Like, we're not gonna be that interested in like a Beppo and Law relationship because it's really not that deep. Oda still explained that backstory in that relationship, but it was really quick and it didn't really matter. And that in itself ties into the fact that I just want to know more about Kid. I don't think it needs to be like a Law level of a deep dive on his story. Like, Law's story was essentially all the way from Punk Hazard building up all the way to Dressrosa, and then we got this huge backstory of him and Doflamingo. Kid's backstory doesn't have to be explored to that level, but I still want to know it. But beyond Kid's backstory, there's still other storylines tied to his character. When he went to Big Mom's territory, he said that he stole something that he wanted. Now, this makes us think initially right off the bat that it's the Road Poneglyph, a copy of the Road Poneglyph, but I actually think Oda is throwing a curveball here. I just don't see the reasoning of why Kid will have a copy of the Road Poneglyph storytelling wise. Is it really just to showcase that he's capable and strong, but you could have really just done that by saying that he injured one of the Sweet Commanders. But him actually getting a copy of the Road Poneglyph, something Luffy already has, it doesn't really make sense to me. Like, it wouldn't be helpful at all to Luffy, and I really don't think Kid is gonna be seriously in contention for becoming the Pirate King. I think that's more so a Blackbeard role, and I don't think Oda's gonna go the route of using Kid just so he could get defeated by Blackbeard, so Blackbeard could get his hands on the copy of Big Mom's Road Poneglyph. That would be really doing Kid dirty. I don't even think Oda would go that low. So yeah, what other reason would there be for Kid to get a copy of Big Mom's Road Poneglyph? You gotta remember, like, not a lot of people know about these in the first place. Like, Law didn't even know about it when they found out about it on Zou. So to me, I think Oda is kind of swerving us a bit and making us think that Kid got his hands on a copy of the Road Poneglyph, when in actuality, he has some sort of other deeper mission. And perhaps perhaps that mission could be tied to the reason why he's so interested in fighting Shanks. Not only did they interact once already and he lost the arm, but when he set up that alliance with Apu and Hawkins, their mission was going after Shanks. So what's the story behind that? There's definitely something there that's gonna be explored. I really do hope we get the flashback of how Kid lost his arm in the first place. Like, I think it's very interesting how that scene will play out, because in our heads, the red hair pirates are kind of like good people. But at the end of the day, they're vets in the pirate game. They've been around for a long time. I don't think they will hesitate for a second to take Kid's arm off to kind of teach him a lesson or something. But yeah, Kid and Shanks, there's definitely a lot of story there to be explored. And of course, one of the theories a lot of people jumped on right away, both of them have red hair. They're like, okay, maybe they're related. Now, I will say, if you want to go the route of Shanks as Kid's father, that would mean Shanks had Kid when he was 16, which is definitely possible, but I don't know how I would feel about Shanks being on the show of 16 and pregnant. Timeline-wise, I guess it could make sense. Kid was born after Roger's execution and the Roger Pirates were already disbanded. So 24 years ago was Roger's execution, 23 years ago was when Kid was born, and then actually 22 years ago was when Shanks met Yasopp in the East Blue. So by this timeline, it would be like Roger gets executed, Shanks goes off and creates his own crew, and then a year later, he's in the South Blue, knocks some girl up, has Kid, and then a year later, he just ditches him and goes to the East Blue. Now that I think about it, there's also the theory of Shanks being the dad of Makino's baby as well. All these theories about Shanks being evil, he actually is. He's just having a bunch of kids and abandoning them. Shanks just taking Roger's approach to a whole nother level and just planting seeds in every single sea. That would be wild. But yeah, Kid and Shanks, if you do believe in that theory that there's somehow father and son, that's what the timeline would be like. It seems kind of unlikely in my opinion. Also, there hasn't been much more evidence supporting the theory besides the fact that they both have red hair. I do think there's some serious story there though. There's a lot of parallels between the two of them as well. Both of them lost their left arms. They both have a scar on their eye as well. At the same time, their personalities are almost exact opposites, where a Kid will literally just kill a bunch of people for laughing at him and all that type of stuff, whereas Shanks, as you saw in Fuchsia Village, doesn't give a damn. So yeah, I do think after Wano, that's gonna be a big part of Kid's story and where his character goes. Maybe he gets involved with Luffy somehow when Luffy goes to meet Shanks. That's probably gonna be a video I do soon, so let me know your thoughts on that. But beyond that, as far as like where Kid ends up in the end of the story, I think he's still gonna be a pirate and has high ambitions. He'll still probably try to be a rival to Luffy and engage in fights with him, but I see him more as a Shiki rather than a Whitebeard, which is kind of sad, but that's just like the role of Kid's character. He's definitely still gonna be known as one of the strongest pirates of his generation and probably one of the strongest characters by the end of the story if we jump into the future, but I don't think he's gonna really achieve anything substantial. And there's this idea where after Wano, there's gonna be new Yonko in place because Big Mom and Kaido will be defeated. So people are thinking maybe Law and Kid jump into those positions. I actually don't think that will be the case. Actually, that could be a video in itself. So let me know what you think about that as well. But yeah, overall, those are my thoughts on EUSTASS Kid and what he could potentially accomplish. But what about you guys? Do you think Kid will actually accomplish anything great? Why or why not? Let me know in the comments below. But as always, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please hit that like button. It really helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm. If you want to keep up to date with this channel, you gotta hit that subscribe button. Be sure to hit that bell to join the crew as well. The King Pirates crew is now over 6,470 members. If you want to interact with your fellow crewmates, the King Pirates Discord is linked in the description below. Be sure to follow me on Twitter. I'm DKing4, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.